I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground.
B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long. You can say 4 weeks, but it could be 6, it could be 8, it could be 3. Ultimately, we set the pace and the tempo.
This is as serious as it gets. This is war and peace. They told us in that room that there are going to be more Americans that are going to die.
Doesn't it feel good to know that someone who's potentially still an alcoholic is setting the pace and the tempo for a quickly escalating war in the Middle East? And yes, I am talking about Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. And the real question that many in America are wondering at this moment is whether or not the Trump administration intends to send ground troops to spur regime change in Iran. That would be devastating. But it seems like it's something that Trump is certainly open to. At the same time, today's Pentagon presser featuring Secretary of War Pete Hegseth made clear that the White House really has no idea what they're doing as this war against Iran has escalated into a devastating regional war. So let's get to some of these details, because yesterday, the Senate took part in a classified briefing on the war. And it apparently shook Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal quite a bit. Here's what he had to say.
I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground and that troops from the United States may be necessary to accomplish objectives that the administration seems to have. But I also am no more clear on what the priorities are going to be of the administration going forward, whether it is destroying the nuclear capacity of Iran or simply the missiles or regime change or stopping terrorist activities.
So Senator Blumenthal left that classified briefing on the war against Iran even more confused about what the administration's objectives are. So I'm of two minds on this. On one hand, I understand why Blumenthal would be confused because we're dealing with an administration that has absolutely no idea what they're doing and they're being led by a foreign country, Israel. On the other hand, though, I don't think Blumenthal is that stupid. And what I mean by that is it is clear to anyone who's been paying attention that this has been about regime change in Iran from the very beginning. Netanyahu has been urging the United States to fight this dirty war on his behalf, on Israel's behalf, for literally decades. You can find videos of him dating back to the late 80s, where he's fear-mongering about Iran and their nuclear capability, which didn't even exist, never existed. And why did he do that? Because he wanted to go the United States to engage for regime change, not for the weapons, not because Israel's genuine. Israel is a nuclear power. They have a clandestine nuclear program. They stole our nuclear secrets thanks to Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell. The Dimona nuclear site is the clandestine nuclear site belonging to Israel. Israel is not worried about being wiped off the face of the earth. They are a nuclear power, okay? Nuclear weapons serve as a deterrent. And so when Iran enriched uranium to 60%, remember you need enriched uranium at 90% in order to be able to build a nuclear bomb. But they had enriched up to 60%. Why did they do that? Because they were trying to have a latent deterrent, because they knew of the threat that Israel and the United States posed to their own sovereignty. And they were right about that. So anyway, Blumenthal knows, so him pretending like he's confused about the objectives, I'm not really buying it, but I can understand if Blumenthal is concerned if the Trump administration doesn't have a sound plan in place to, protect our troops, protect our military assets in the region, protect our embassies, which the Trump administration didn't do. And our embassies got targeted in various countries, including Bahrain, including in Qatar, Saudi Arabia. We had a CIA center in Saudi Arabia that the Iranians bombed. So do I think the Trump administration really knows what they're doing? No, I don't. But do I know what their objective here is? Yeah, their objective is get on your knees. Netanyahu's going to take his pants down, and you're going to pleasure him. You are at the pleasure of a foreign country's leader. Duh. Okay. Now, later, during an interview with News Nation, House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, another Republican, said that boots on the ground in Iran might be unavoidable.
If there are boots on the ground, I hope they're not on the ground any longer than the boots on the ground were in Venezuela. But I think that that's something the president knows that members of Congress certainly hope doesn't happen, but sometimes that's unavoidable in a situation like this.
Nonsense. It's not unavoidable. You could have just, avoided striking Iran and escalating the situation to a regional war. But that would require you to stand up to Netanyahu and the Israelis, which, for whatever reason, this administration is unwilling to do. But to be fair, I mean, Biden was unwilling to do that. Biden's not even in the Epstein files as far as we can see. So it looks like he just did it for the love of the game. So Biden's just a bad guy. He wasn't even being bribed, he was definitely being bribed. He took a lot of money from the Israel lobby. But I don't think that was the motivating factor for Biden. With Trump, the way he has behaved when it comes to the release of the Epstein files, very suspicious. It seems like there's something more at play when it comes to the Trump administration. But going back to Blumenthal's statements, he is correct in being confused about the Trump administration's plans here, right? Like how are they planning on carrying this out? What are they doing to protect Americans? Well, Senator Brian Schatz, a Democrat, shares the same concern that Blumenthal has, but he's a little harsher in his wording. Let's take a quick look at that.
There are times when you go into a classified session and you walk out and you have a better understanding about the gravity of the situation and the rationale behind the military action. This is not one of those times. We remain as confused as the American people are. They have had 3 or 4 or 5 justifications for this act of war over the last 4 or 5 days, and nothing in this classified session alleviated that confusion.
Don't forget, Noble Mobile is saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
Look, the truth is, you get different messaging depending on which administration official is speaking at any given moment. And I want to give you a sense of what I'm talking about here because, okay, let's move away from the administration. Let's actually take a look at the Republican Party. Let's look at congressional lawmakers. They can't even admit that we are in a war right now. And if you don't believe me, here's a little taste of what I'm talking about.
You'll concede this is war. You'll concede this is war.
We haven't declared war. They declared war on us, but we haven't.
War. Secretary Hicks said
we haven't declared.
Just now, you said this is war.
They've called it war.
They've called it war. What I was saying. Okay, well that was a misspoke. What I was saying that they've declared war on us, but war is ugly.
I don't believe in the semantics. We've talked about the language this morning. We're not at war right now. We're 4 days in to a very specific, clear mission, an Operation Epic Fury.
I had the displeasure of doing her take this morning with one of the dumbest women I've ever met in my life. Her name is Bianca. And she made the same statement that you just heard Mike Johnson make, that no, we're just doing targeted strikes. Are we? Are we just doing targeted strikes? Bianca, you moron. I would prefer to listen to what the president has to say about how to classify our military actions in the Middle East right now. Take a look.
Well, thank you very much. These are exciting times. I think you probably want to speak about war rather than this, but this is very important. This is very important, and we're doing very well on the war front.
Oh, we're doing very well on the war front. Oh, interesting. They have no idea what they're doing. No idea what they're doing. Complete and utter disaster. And I suspect the reason why there's this contradiction in the messaging of whether or not this is a war is the American people don't like what's going on. They don't want to get dragged into a war in the Middle East on behalf of a foreign country. Only 25% of Americans were somewhat kind of open-minded to military action against Iran. And that was before the military action began and 6 of our soldiers got slaughtered. So who knows what they're thinking right now? But Senator Josh Hawley left that classified briefing and said this. He believed the officials did not communicate a possible end date. Quote, it sounded very open-ended to me. Listen, I know that I've got a great skincare routine and I look way younger than I am. Not to compliment myself too much, but I was around and very aware of what was going on in the preemptive war against Iraq. This is completely mirroring everything that we experienced in the lead up to that war. The lies, the deception, the embarrassment to the American people. And more importantly, the deception about how easy and quick it would be to invade Iraq and destroy their weapons of mass destruction. That war wasn't quick, it wasn't easy, and it was absolutely devastating to our budget here in the US. It was devastating, more importantly, to our soldiers. The soldiers who lost their lives, the soldiers who had multiple deployments and will have lifelong mental health issues as a result of the trauma they had to deal with in Iraq. These people in the administration, in our government, are scum. They don't represent us, they don't care about us. And we as Americans, regardless of where you land on the political spectrum, I don't even care at this point. It's not even about partisanship at this point. This is about whether or not you want to protect this country or if you want to be a puppet for a foreign country and get our people killed in the process. That's where I'm at with this. So this is where we're at. And I'm terrified that they send ground troops to Iran without any real plan in place, knowing full well, by the way, that we are running out of interceptors. So imagine putting human bodies, American bodies on the line, knowing that we're running out of interceptors. So look, CNN reports that the Trump administration officials told lawmakers during a closed door briefing the following. Iran's Shahed attack drones represent a major challenge and US air defenses will not be able to intercept them all. And that's according to a source in the briefing. This is something that I've been reading about in various military outlets as well. Because if you want to get a better sense of the truth and what the military is actually concerned about, they're concerned about this. They're not able to intercept some of these drones. And on top of that, we are running low on interceptors, period, okay? So in regard to the drones, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, acknowledged are posing a bigger problem than anticipated. They are known to fly low and slow, a feature that makes them more able to evade air defenses than ballistic missiles. So introducing more American troops in that region and potentially on the ground in Iran would be devastating, would put their lives at risk, would certainly lead to far more US casualties. And for what? If you're a Republican and you were hoodwinked by this administration during the Trump campaign when he said that he was going to be the peace president, that he wasn't going to drag us into forever wars, look, he lied to you. And I'm not going to mock you for that. I'm not going to, trash you for that. You had faith in the guy and he betrayed you. But enough is enough. If you love this country and you're genuinely America first, you can't keep defending this garbage.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.